evening and welcome to Bits and Pieces. Well, thank goodness the bread strike's over. Last week was a headache for all of us, especially the girls in the shop who had to put up with the moans and groans of the customers because there wasn't any bread. People started queuing at 8 o'clock in the morning to make sure of a loaf from one of the bakers who wasn't on strike, and that meant a 2-hour wait in the cold. Some people tried to make their own bread, like a relation of mine. She made some bread rolls that were so hard it was suggested they might be used as doorstops or a ramp for the car.
Tonight, the Wednesday evening Keep Fit classes end for Christmas after a very successful 10 weeks. 20 ladies of our community has regularly benefited from some very strenuous physical jerks under the expert teaching of our Miss Kate, a very fit lady indeed. There will be plenty of mince pies and sherry at a grand party tonight, and the next term starts next January. Barbara and I are happy to report our community dance held last Saturday at the Social Centre was a grand success, and the group called the J Stars were excellent, catering for all tastes. And the hall, which was decorated with bunting flags loaned from Commander Fisher of the Flying Fox, drew lots of oohs and ahs. That's nice. And the next dance is February the 8th of next year, so make a date.
Last Saturday at Knowle Park Community Centre, the Buffs held their Christmas party for the children of its members. About 30 children attended, and the afternoon began just after 3 o'clock with a slap-up tea party. Afterwards they were entertained by a magician, and they guessed some of his tricks, and then to some singing and dancing by the Novena starlets. The grand finale of the afternoon was the arrival of Father Christmas at 5 o'clock, who presented every child with a present and a balloon.
The traditional Christmas trees are plentiful and a good buy this year, but the average price being about 20 pence a foot. But my source of information said next year the Christmas trees will be a lot dearer due to a tax to be placed on them. A few well-known wholesale agents at the market has already discontinued Christmas trees as being unprofitable. So make the most of the real thing this year and do something like, let your wife be the fairy over the Christmas at the top of the tree.
And congratulations this week to Stephen Mountford of 20 Chepstow Road and Susan Moore of 68 Blagrove Crescent, Hartcliffe, who were married at St Barnabas Church last Saturday. They've been courting for 2 years and they've now gone on honeymoon somewhere in the country, destination unknown. There will be a party at Broad Plain House tomorrow for the Old Age Pensioners Club, and it sounds as though it will be a great occasion. Sherry will be served at 12:30 and everyone will sit down for dinner at 1 o'clock. This will be followed by a concert during the afternoon and then tea about 5 o'clock. This is one of the functions for elderly people financed by the John James Trust Fund, but the Broad Plain Old Boys Social Club will be supplying the drinks and boys from Merrywood School will be waiting on table.
We have much pleasure in wishing Mr George Hughes, headmaster of Connaught Junior Boys School, a full and a happy retirement. Here you see George with his favourite persuader made of brown paper, and it's affectionately called Wacom. He has been involved with teaching on our estate for nearly 30 years and is repaid in small ways, like grown men calling out, "Hello George, how's it going?" And he recognises a Tom or a Bob, who used to be typical little horrors. George feels this sort of long-lasting friendliness is now being lost in the new comprehensive system. His first taste of a well-earned retirement is a month's holiday in Ceylon, visiting wartime scenes, and to climb an 8,000-foot mountain called Adam's Peak, which he first conquered as a young soldier during the war. Then on his return he takes up the presidency of the Bedminster Rotary Club, where he expects more trouble, but this time with truculent bigger boys. Mr. Hughes' presentation party will be on the 20th of December. Football is just one of the sports that Mr. Hughes can feel proud to leave behind, knowing it's well to the top of the second league of the Junior Schools Football Association. They have already reached the third round of the Coronation Cup, their biggest rivals being Redcliffe School, and they can also boast that a second division scout is interested in their captain Stephen Bailey. Their next match is Saturday at home, the Creswick playing fields, to Hillfield School.
And the Philwood Park Junior School swimming prowess is no less than the football side. Under the dedicated coaching of Mr. Keith Knowle, their standard in personal survival is very high. 7 gold medals, 16 silver and 21 bronze. Mr. Knowle told us few schools ever reach this gathering of medals. In case you didn't know, personal survival would help you survive for a reasonable amount of time if ever you happen to be shipwrecked. And yet another feather in the cap for this school, they're also good at cross-country running. This year they competed for the first time with 9 other schools in the 1.25 mile cross-country race at Witchart Sports Centre. And though the going was very heavy, they took 4 places, namely 5th, 11th, 13th and 14th out of a field of 80 boys, and notched up 43 points.
On Sunday the 15th at 2:30, Brownies and Cubs of the district gather at Christ the King for a carol service, and they will also do a dramatised version of the Nativity. And the following Saturday, the Brownies are going to the ice show at Wembley Stadium as a special treat, and Sister Frances will be in charge.
Yesterday, we found this old photograph in our room at the Philwood Social Centre and got curious as to how long ago it was taken. We can recognise a couple of people here, but wondered if anyone can tell us anything about it and how long ago this event, it looks like a celebration of some kind, took place. If you do recognise anybody on the photo, we would be interested to know about it. And now, some bits and pieces from Tim and Kev of Merrywood Boys' School.
Now, as we approach Christmas, the boys of Merrywood Integrated Studies Department are arranging an old age pensioners party with food, drink, the original Christmas atmosphere, and, we hope, the same success as last year. For the past few weeks, the rest of the school have been collecting food, money, and many other things that would help the old age visitors to enjoy themselves. With a bit of luck and a lot of enthusiasm, we hope to entertain 100 pensioners in all. This grand feast will take place on Wednesday the 18th of December, and amongst the entertainment will be music, played by the school band, songs and the usual seasonal jollity. Towards the end of the party, after the entertainment, the pensioners will be given a small but very thoughtful food parcel to make Christmas for them that much happier. One lady last year really enjoyed herself, taking 1 parcel for a friend out the road, and 1 for Fred, and 1 for Bert, and so on and so on. She must have ended up with, half a dozen parcels.
There is the possibility for several boys to go on an outward bound course, costing £120. This at first may seem a lot of money, but when you sit back and think what this course involves, then the cost no longer seems so large. Here are just a few of the activities included in the month-long course: climbing, canoeing, sailing, potholing, service projects, field studies, and many, many more. It is far more than a physical experience. It is an adventure which the boys who go will remember all their life. Young people from different towns with different occupations join together and find themselves embarking on a common enterprise. For 26 days they find themselves outside their normal environment and habits, in settings of great natural beauty, and the sudden stimulating break puts a young man or woman in an alert frame of mind. They receive technical instruction of the highest standard in a wide range of outdoor activities on a friendly, informal basis by staff selected not only for their accomplishments, but also for their varied experience. A Merrywood boy attended one of these courses last year.
On Friday, the 15th of November, 7 boys from Merrywood, plus 6 boys from a London school, left Bristol to go on an adventure weekend to Pulfdee in Wales. The whole thing was arranged and run by the 21st Gloucestershire Army Youth Team, and the teachers from Maywood were Mr. B. Bryant and Mr. D. Hargraves. The activities in which the boys took part were caving, pony trekking, abseiling, walking, map reading and compass work. The cost per boy was £3.25. The full programme of activities was physically demanding, and as such was thoroughly enjoyed by all the boys. To their credit, the Marywood boys set an example in cooperation in the domestic side of the weekend, willingly undertaking all necessary chores. As an exercise in personal relationships, it was encouraging. The initial friction caused, in the main, by teasing over the vastly different accents and mode of expression was overcome and set aside.
A wide variety of activities in and out of school is taking place. Visits have been made recently to the Motor Show in London. Groups have visited Avebury, a history group went to London, to the Imperial War Museum. Classes frequently visit places of interest in Bristol, especially the older parts of the city. Fifth form geographers have been spending field days in South Wales. Community work continues with boys helping elderly people with painting and gardening and assistance at the new Fossway Special School. Much careers work is taking place, and speakers from a variety of professions have talked to senior boys. Parents of 5th and 6th formers have already had invitations to talk with the school's careers advisory officer.
The Bristol Schools cross-country championships were held recently, and Marywood had a team running at 3 age levels. In the minors event, our team came 5th, and in the juniors we were placed 6th. Our best team effort was in the intermediate group, where we finished 2nd, with Tony Matthews personally placed 2nd and Stephen Parker 6th. Marywood's best individual achievement was in the senior event, which was won by John Pickford. As a result of these championships, we now have 7 boys chosen as runners or reserves to represent South Bristol in the Avon Schools cross country. And now it's goodbye and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And now back to the ladies, I think.
Thank you, Tim and Kev. And a remark by one of the workmen modernising our houses to housewife nagging him about the mess he was making. Missus, if your body worked as well as your mouth, you'd be a good un.
And some late news just come in. Don't go out and leave your washing on the line, as a spate of knicker-nicking is going on in Knowle West, as Mrs. George Bowman of Barnstable Road found out. 2 lines of clothes gone forever. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
And a very Merry Christmas from me, and good night from all of us.
Good night.
Good night.